Geshe-la has entrusted me with a very big responsibility, a great honor to ask me to do this on such a holy day. I don't feel worthy of this, but I'll try my best. Thank you all for coming here on such a hot day. Maybe you came here because you knew it would be cool here also, but I know you come here because Tibet House is a great spiritual magnet for people, and Geshe-la has transformed it in the last 8-10 years? How long has Geshe-la been here? How long has Geshe-la been here? Huh?
Since 2009.
2009, no? Yeah, almost 10 years now. And really fulfilling, I think, His Holiness's wishes in an amazing way, giving so many teachings, running master's program, now diploma program, so that's something very amazing and very beneficial for people in Delhi. Okay, so what we'll do is, Geshe-la asked me to, or I shouldn't say asked, Geshe-la instructed me to give some introduction to Saka Dawa. Not that I know very much about it really in the Tibetan tradition, but we'll talk a little bit about Buddha's birth, enlightenment, and death, parinirvana. For some traditions, this is only the enlightenment and parinirvana day. For other traditions, it is also birth, enlightenment, and parinirvana day. So I think it's good if we have all three. It's nice to commemorate it as all three. So we'll talk a little bit about all three before we engage in the practice that Geshe-la recommended, which is generating the mind of the consummate yoga. Yeah, that's the main practice for today. So we can generate the bodhicitta as much as we can, and so forth. But let's start with some recitations together. I know Geshe-la does a lot of recitations, following, the great tradition. I thought, since it's Saka Dawa, it's considered very auspicious to recite the Sutra Remembering the Three Jewels. So if you could turn to page 12 of your Blaze of Non-Dual Bodhicitta book. And we can recite this together. We're not in a hurry, so we can recite it carefully, mindfully. And then after that, we will also recite what follows on page 14 and 15. Yeah? And actually, there's so many wonderful prayers here. Maybe we'll also recite the one following, since it's by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So, start on page 12, and I guess we can, let's start with also just a moment of reflection. So some of you may have been traveling here in the heat or whatever, so just relax and sit upright. I'd like to remind people of the significance of the posture. The upright posture is good for our health, but it's also psychologically very important. It gives us a sense of our healthy self-confidence, a sense of our human dignity, a sense of stability, a sense of not giving in to the difficulties and challenges of life, but remaining upright and dignified, able to face whatever happens, whatever challenges are there. And then the front of the body is also open in this posture, and the open-hearted quality of the Mahayana tradition is well known to all of you, emphasizing that connection with others, opening up and working with others, helping others as much as we can. So the posture, as we sit upright, the front of the body is exposed, it is open. So we are not hiding, you see, we're not hiding from the world, we're not hiding from other people. We are willing to connect and work with others, and then that will help us to fulfill our potential, which is, as you know, to become a Buddha, to fulfill our Buddha nature. So I think today we're going to recite together, we're going to listen and discuss maybe a bit together, do a certain practice together, bodhicitta and also some emptiness practice. So due to this, may there be great benefit. We are practicing in order to work on ourselves, make friends with ourselves, so we can make friends with others and bring some happiness and relief to people in this suffering world. There's so much distress, so much unhappiness, so much frustration due to the power of ignorance, the power of craving and grasping, power of jealousy and anger. So may we, through practicing like this, may we be more able to bring some relief, bring some happiness, some freedom from suffering for the kind mother sentient beings without whom we are nothing, So arouse this kind of thought, this kind of thinking, cherishing others. Remember also the kindness of your teachers, the kindness of His Holiness, the kindness of all the great teachers, the kindness of Geshe Dorje Damlula, the kindness of all the people at Tibet House, which makes all of this possible. Without all these people, this is not possible. You're not able to engage in virtue, in beneficial, wholesome practice. It just wouldn't be possible. So we arouse that sense of gratitude also, and also rejoicing. So in case you are wondering, maybe there was something more interesting I should have gone to this evening, let go of that mind. Just rejoice that you are here with other Dharma brothers and sisters able to engage in this kind of practice. Think how wonderful it is. It's very unusual and it's very wholesome and really very wonderful. So be happy. Think how wonderful it is. Okay, so let's recite the sutra, remembering the three jewels, on page 12. Homage to the Omniscient One, purified and consummate, victorious, virtuous, transcendent, thus gone, foe-destroying, entirely perfect Buddha, full of wisdom, the blissfully proceeding, the knower of the world, charioteer and subduer of beings, the unsurpassable and teacher of gods and men, such is Buddha, victorious, virtuous, and transcendent. He who is thus gone exemplifies the merit which is his cause. In him no root of virtue is ever worn away. Through his manifold patience, he is excellently beautiful. He is the treasure ground of merit, adorned with the tokens of enlightenment. He is graced with the flowers of the marks of Buddhahood. All he does is timely and opportune, and nothing inharmonious mars the sight of him. True joy, indeed, he gives to those who open up their hearts to him in faith. Through the brilliance of his wisdom, he is unconfounded, and against his power there is no victory. He is the teacher of all living beings, the father of all bodhisattvas, the king of all supreme ones. He is the guide for those who journey to the city beyond affliction. His wisdom is unbounded. His assurance is beyond imagination. His speech is altogether pure, well-tuned, and sweet to hear. Gazing on him, one is never sated. His body is beyond compare. By the realm of desire, he is unstained, and by the realm of form is wholly uncontaminated. He is not mingled with the formless. He is altogether free from misery, and from the aggregates he is utterly and altogether liberated. The elements have no hold on him. He has mastery over the sense powers. All his bonds are completely severed, and from all pains he is perfectly and totally released. No craving does he have. He has passed beyond the stream. Perfect is his wisdom, and in the wisdom of the Buddhas past, present, and to come, he has made his dwelling. In Nirvana, where all suffering is transcended, he does not abide. His abode is on the summit of perfection, whence he perceives all living beings. Such are the sublime qualities that are the greatness of the Buddha, victorious, virtuous, and transcendent. The sacred doctrine is righteous in the outset, righteous in the middle, righteous at the end. In its meaning, excellent, and in its words and syllables, likewise. It is integral, unalloyed. It is all-sufficing, altogether pure and purifying. Well spoken is this Dharma by the victorious, virtuous, and transcendent. It is a perfect way of seeing and is devoid of flaws. It is perennial and leads us onward. To see this Dharma is to fulfill one's purpose. It produces in the wise the wisdom all distinguishing. The Dharma spoken by the victorious, virtuous, and transcendent is shown to be well-tempered to the instructions and to the needs of all. It drives one from samsara and causes one to go to perfect Buddhahood. It is free from contradiction, and in it all is summarized. It is to be relied upon totally. It is a cutting of the root. The Sangha of the Mahayana comprises those who have well entered, wisely entered, entered with straightforwardness and aptitude. Right it is to join one's hands before them, and right to make prostrations. They are the glorious field of merit. They are the perfect recipient of gifts. They are the object of offering. Everywhere and always, they are the objects worthy of all offering. Praise to Shakyamuni Buddha on the following page. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O Supreme amongst humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you, who are wise then, I prostrate. With pure bodies, form supreme pure, wisdom ocean, like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like a spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you, the 3 worlds are not. Incomparable wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you the Tathagat I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the Dharma that pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you, the Sangha, I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions, subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha, a star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through these merits, my sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the foe of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. Then the drumbeat of truth, supplication to Shakyamuni Buddha by His Holiness. I bow down to you, the liberator, lion, the Shakya, who perfected all ultimate qualities of omniscience and compassion, who has been praised as the white lotus, the protector of all beings, who dispels all sufferings through the teachings of dependent arising. As you prophesied and foretold through your glorious speech that your teachings would spread in a northerly direction, the entire teachings of the conqueror spread throughout the land of snow, becoming an ornament and sign of good fortune for the world. However, due to the force of unwholesome deeds, today the teachings of the conqueror have declined. O greatly compassionate one, the time has come to bestow protection with compassion. The environment and beings spent and drained through unending suffering are on the brink of extinction. Thus the entire human and celestial population of the land of snow are drawn together out of intense faith, solidarity, and altruism to offer this ornamental crown protrusion of refined gold, this supreme alms bowl of a sage, and these fine saffron robes. Whatever extensive collection of merit and wisdom results from these offerings, as well as all the heaps of virtue of the 3 times, I dedicate to the conqueror's teachings, the source of all peace and happiness for all beings, including the celestials. So the teachings will not decline, but will abide for a very long time. For all sentient beings within the expanse of space, and in particular all inhabitants of this rose-apple land, may loving and compassionate thoughts and deeds prosper, and violent conflict cease forever, having dispelled all inner and outer obstacles and downfalls, such as poverty, despair, oppression, cruelty, epidemics, and natural disasters due to environmental degradation. May all beings forever enjoy the glory of peace and happiness. Inseparable from the precious radiance of appreciating others' good qualities and recognizing mutually close ties and friendship, maintaining an unbiased attitude towards all who follow Buddhist and non-Buddhist traditions, may I voluntarily enact deeds solely for the benefit of all sentient beings. Especially in the refreshingly cool land, may the degenerated teachings of the conqueror be restored and prosper without decline, and with the renewed peace and joy of spiritual and temporal freedom, may the immediate and long-term aspirations of the Tibetan people be quickly fulfilled. May all those individuals whose service has contributed to keeping the banner of spiritual and temporal deeds aloft in the land of snow continue to shoulder their responsibility with a dedicated spirit and informed mind. May they be looked after in life after life by the holder of the lotus. In the realm of the Dharma, may the heaps of irreligious deeds be dispelled by the truth, and all positive temporal and spiritual activities which are altruistically motivated be quickly fulfilled in accord with the Dharma. By the truth of the Dharma, may everything sacrilegious come to an end. So His Holiness made this supplication before the Supreme Buddha image at the supremely sacred place of Bodh Gaya. Of course, focused on Tibet, but also concerning the well-being of all sentient beings. Yeah. So here we can just also recall, since it's very good to recall, and such a matter on this holy day. Please, we can remember the four main pillars of His Holiness's aspirations, for the world. Before that, can the person adjust this? I'm in danger of eating the microphone, which I don't want to do. So it won't be good for me or for the microphone. Sorry, I got maladjusted. Sorry, something happened. It's perfect? It's just my misunderstanding. Okay. So let's remember first His Holiness's wish for people to generate a sense of universal responsibility, altruism, compassion for all sentient beings. In other words, to generate the compassion, bodhicitta, with that sense of universal responsibility, all human brothers and sisters and all the other beings in this world and beyond. Yeah. So that's the first aspiration. Then there's the aspiration of His Holiness for interfaith understanding and harmony, which His Holiness has been working so hard for so many years, for that mutual respect and practice also, spiritual people from different traditions to practice together and discuss together, and thereby promote more understanding and loving kindness between the traditions, the great world traditions. Then, of course, His Holiness's aspirations for Tibet to be a zone of peace with autonomy, meaningful autonomy for the Tibetan people, and for Tibet to be a nuclear-free zone and so forth, and for the ecology and so forth to be restored, because it's such an important part of the world. So many ecological, so much damage being done at the moment, which is affecting the rivers and so forth, which are flowing down into India, Vietnam, so forth, so many places, Burma. So that to come to an end, and for Tibetan people to have more say in Tibet. Then, so those are the three main aims of His Holiness. Then now added a fourth to help restore the ancient wisdom tradition of India, which of course His Holiness has been doing all these years, but renewed emphasis on that, on the renewing the Indian wisdom tradition, and also not just in a spiritual, religious way, but also in a secular way. And His Holiness putting so much emphasis on secular education, how to help get across genuine values, compassion, wisdom, so forth, in a non-religious way, so as to reach out to more and more people, even people, of course, who don't see themselves as religious. Many young people don't want to hear so much about religion. So His Holiness is thinking of everybody, And of course, the dialogue with scientists has been going on for so long, neuroscientists, psychologists. So all of these remarkable aspirations and actions of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, we should remember and rejoice at that. And if we feel we can help in any of those ways, especially modern Indian people and people living in India, we must do something for this country where the Dharma was born and which has so many problems right now, which His Holiness has seen so clearly. He sees exactly what we need in this country. So may that happen. Yeah, we can aspire to fulfill His Holiness's wishes. Of course, Tibet House is one major way in order to fulfill His Holiness's wishes, to preserve the pure Dharma in the land of its birth. Yeah, so we can have that aspiration with us to be good. Okay. So let's, Geshe-la said I should speak a little bit about the meaning of today. So, I can't say too much about the meaning of today, but I can help us be inspired by some of the quotations from the Tibetan, from the Buddhist tradition regarding birth, enlightenment, and passing away of Lord Buddha. Yeah. And when we read and hear about these things, we might also consider that this is somebody, not a god, not a god. This awakened being who was called Shakyamuni, who was called Gautama Buddha 2,500 years ago, this is somebody who was also like us at one point in time. And one might say at one point he was far more deluded than us. We are reasonably intelligent, decent people. We probably didn't engage in any major non-virtuous actions today, like killing or stealing, and that kind of thing. We haven't done that. But probably the being who became Lord Buddha at some point in the past was a unwholesome being. But then through lifetimes of practice, countless lifetimes of practice, became a great being, great patience, who then practiced patience for so long, loving kindness, all these qualities. If you read some of the texts, he sometimes says in some of the Mahayana sutras how he was, for hundreds of lives, he was a king or something, practicing patience. So then he practiced for so long, all of these wholesome qualities. Then he awakened. Then he became a Buddha. So it can give us also some hope, maybe, that this is not a mythology. It's not a fairy story. It's not like that. We can become like Lord Buddha. That's what he taught for, in order to show us how to become like him. So, that's something to keep in mind, that this is not just a nice story. This is something we aspire to, We can aspire to this. Venerable Gela, you want to come to the front? No? Okay, then. Okay. Okay, so I thought there's a combination of readings which will be good, and then we will. I think this place has a vibration, a tradition where Geshe-la doesn't do things quickly. So I don't feel too bad if I go on till 7:30 or a little beyond. Yeah, that's okay for people. Yeah, on this holy day, you don't mind. Yeah, it's a tradition my own teacher also follows. Lama Zopa Rinpoche doesn't do things quickly. It can take a long time, and that's okay. And so I hope you don't have any major engagements very soon, party or something. You know, parties usually start late, so it's okay. So now, this is some verses from what's called the Acharya Abhuta Sutra, one of the Theravada Sutras, on Buddha speaking later. You know, he spoke to Anand and others about his birth and just prior to his birth, about his conception and so forth. So this sutra is about that. I'm not reading the whole sutra; it's too long. So this the monk is, I think Anand is saying what he had heard from the Blessed One, what he heard from Lord Buddha himself. I heard and I learned this from the Blessed One's own lips. Quote, as soon as the Bodhisattva was born, he stood firmly with his feet on the ground. Then he took 7 steps, facing north, and with a white parasol held above him, he surveyed each quarter and uttered the words of the leader of the herd. I am the highest in the world. I am the best in the world. I am the foremost in the world. This is my last birth. Now there is no renewed existence for me. So this too I remember as a wonderful and marvelous quality of the Blessed One. I heard and learned this from the Blessed One's own lips. When the Bodhisattva came forth from his mother's womb, an immeasurable great radiance, surpassing the divine majesty of the Devas, appeared in the world, with its Devas, Mara and Brahma, in this population with its ascetics, Brahmins, Devas, human beings, and even in those abysmal world intervals of vacancy and gloom and utter darkness, where the moon and the sun, mighty and powerful as they are, cannot make their light prevail, there also an immeasurable great radiance, surpassing the divine majesty of the Devas, appeared in the world. And the beings reborn there perceived each other by that light. So, the sense that when Lord Buddha was born, not only did he proclaim who he was without any trace of, he was very straightforward. He said exactly what he was without any kind of misguided or excess of humility. He just straightforwardly said that who he was, a great being. And the light, the radiance that he brought with him illuminated vast corners of the universe where there is usually darkness. Yeah. We should also remember, when we remember the birth of the Buddha, that of course he didn't give pain to his mother. It's said that when great bodhisattvas are born, there's great bliss is felt by the mother, no pain at the time of birth. And actually even now you can hear stories of great lamas, great reincarnate lamas, tulkus, rinpoches, who are born amidst amazing signs, and where there isn't pain for the mother, where the mother has amazing dreams and so forth. So this is something due to the power of wisdom, compassion. Beings like that take birth in that way. We take birth in a different kind of way. We come out usually screaming and shouting, and often give great pain to the mother. Often the mother, due to the karmic situation, the mother has to be even cut, torn out, in a cesarean operation, which is harmful for mother and child. But the Buddha was born due to his, his great virtue, you could say, due to the virtue of his mother, born without pain, just very easily. Yeah, you read about her. She just kind of rested her hand against one of the trees in Lumbini, and sort of Buddha slipped out. So anyway, you might not want to take it totally literally, but for sure, the birth of great beings is heralded by marvelous signs, internal signs for the mother, external signs in the world, rainbows and all sorts of signs, and also by that sense of delight, joy. So that's how Lord Buddha was born. So we could aspire also, may I be born like that one day. If I am going to be reborn, may I be reborn like that, even if I get reborn in Delhi hospital or somewhere. But may it be a very pleasant birth. May it give happiness to not only the mother, but to the nurses and the doctors. May they be wowed by the sense of peace and happiness descending in the hospital, at least for a little while. Because hospitals can be rather depressing places. Yeah. So anyway, much to say about the Buddha's birth, but as you may know, from the Theravadan point of view, he is born as a bodhisattva, not yet a Buddha. Became a Buddha in that life. From Mahayana point of view, when he was born as a Siddhartha, he was already enlightened. Whichever way, doesn't matter too much. You have to follow what you find most useful for you. But from Mahayana point of view, he manifested all those different stages of life. He was already an enlightened being. Anyway, whatever. So, as far as the enlightenment itself, there is many things that could be said. If you go to Bodh Gaya, I hope some of you have been, and those who have not been, if you go to Bodh Gaya, and if you go to the Muchalinda pond, the pond right next to the Mahabodhi Stupa, the pond on the south side, where the Tibetans put up prayer flags in the winter. If you go to the western side of the pond in Bodh Gaya, you will see a the Lalita Vistar Sutra. Lalita Vistar, I think, is called a sutra, hammered out in metal by, I think, Tatran Tulku's organization. Very beautiful. And, this insect has some karma with this sutra. So, there you'll read about the incredible hard work, the sacrifice Lord Buddha, the Siddhartha, whoever you want to call him, Siddhartha made in order to attain enlightenment. And when I read it there in Bodh Gaya, there's also the blessing of Bodh Gaya, then you feel, how much he strove, how many difficulties he went through in his 5 years, 6 years of ascetic practice before he became fully awakened. It was amazing to read in that place on the wall, on the western side of the Muchalinda pool. So I'll just read a little bit of that. It's also in one of the Theravada Sutras. So as you know, he was engaging in ascetic practice with 5 other people, 5 ascetics, hardly eating anything, next to nothing, and becoming very thin. You'll remember the statue, Lord Buddha, Siddhartha, very thin, his ribs showing. Have you seen that statue? which was originally in Taxila Museum, present-day Pakistan. He's totally reduced to a kind of skeleton. And my own teacher, Lamso Rinpoche, always says, you must pay attention to this statue. Your progress will not come. Don't think you can get enlightened easily. You have to, there's hard work, Maybe you don't become that thin, but you have to strive. You have to work very hard. Yeah. So this is what Buddha says. My body reached a state of extreme emaciation. Because of eating so little, my limbs became like the jointed segments of vine stems or bamboo stems. Because of eating so little, my backside became like a camel's hoof. Because of eating so little, the projections on my spine stood forth like corded beads. Because of eating so little, my ribs jutted out as gaunt as the crazy rafters of an old roofless barn. Because of eating so little, the gleam of my eyes sank far down into their sockets, looking like the gleam of water that has sunk far down in a deep well. Because of eating so little, my scalp shriveled and withered as a green Karela, bitter gourd, shrivels and withers in the wind and sun. Because of eating so little, my belly, skin adhered, stuck to my backbone. Thus, if I touched my belly skin, I encountered my backbone. And if I touched my backbone, I encountered my belly skin. Because of eating so little, if I defecated or urinated, I fell over on my face, right there. Because of eating so little, if I tried to ease my body by rubbing my limbs with my hands, the hair, which was rotted at its roots, fell from my body as I rubbed. I thought, whatever ascetics or Brahmins in the past have experienced painful, racking, piercing feelings due to exertion, this is the utmost. There is none beyond this. Then he considered it's not easy to attain that happiness, the happiness he is seeking, with a body so excessively emaciated. Suppose I ate some solid food, some boiled rice and porridge, and I ate some solid food, some boiled rice and porridge. And then he speaks about how the 5 ascetics with him became disgusted at him for eating, and they left him thinking that this ascetic Gautama now lives luxuriously. He has given up his striving and reverted to luxury. And he speaks about then when his mind became more concentrated, purified, bright, unblemished, rid of imperfection, flexible, wieldy, steady, I directed it to knowledge of the recollection of my past lives. I recollected my manifold past lives, that is, 1 birth, 2, 3, 4 births, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, 1,000, 100,000 births. Many eons of world contraction, many eons of world expansion, many eons of world contraction and expansion. There I was called such and such, of such a clan, with such an appearance, such was my nourishment, such my experience of pleasure and pain, such was my lifespan, and passing away from there I was reborn elsewhere. There too I was named such and such, of such a clan or caste. Then going through the different lives, seeing all of these things from his past. So these manifold past lives he saw. Then he saw how beings are caught up in their karma, how they experience cause and effect due to their actions. Thus, with the divine eye, which is purified and surpasses the human, I saw beings passing away and being reborn, inferior and superior, beautiful and ugly, fortunate, unfortunate. And I understood how beings fare on according to their actions. Then he also, the third thing, he began to see how the suffering, the cause of suffering, could be eliminated. He saw the cause of the suffering, of the imperfections, of the delusions, klesh, karam. He saw the cause of that and how to get rid of that. This is suffering. This is the origin of suffering. This is the cessation of suffering. This is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. I directly knew as it actually is. These are the delusions. This is the origin of the delusion. This is the cessation of them. This is the way leading to the cessation of the taints. Yeah. It's very interesting sometimes to read the original sutras. Of course, Mahayana sutras are amazing, mind-blowing. It's also good to read some of the basic sutras. It's all the teaching of the Buddha. Also helps us from that great sin, they say, that great fault is to neglect or put down some of the teachings and saying, oh, that's just a Theravada teaching or Hinayana teaching. These are the real teachings. We mustn't do that, of course. They're all teachings of the Buddha to help us. Yeah. So now, after enlightenment, what happened? Initially, he didn't want, Lord Buddha didn't want to teach. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if he hadn't taught? No Padmasambhava, no Lama Tsongkhapa, no Dalai Lamas, no Tibet house. It would have been pretty bad if he hadn't taught, because this is what he taught according to the teachings. According to the sutras, this is what Lord Buddha taught. He taught, I considered this Dhamma that I have attained is profound, hard to see, hard to understand, peaceful, sublime, unattainable by mere reasoning, subtle, to be experienced by the wise. But this population, meaning Ajkal ke log, these people, delight in attachment. And he's speaking of 2,500 years ago, when people were less attached, maybe. So now I don't know, it would blow Lord Buddha's mind to see us now, with our smartphones and everything else. But this population, he said, delights in attachment, takes delight in attachment, rejoices in attachment. It is hard for such a population to see this truth, namely specific conditionality, dependent origination. It is hard to see this truth, namely the stilling of all the mental formations, the relinquishing of all acquisitions, the destruction of craving, dispassion, cessation, nirvana. If I were to teach the Dharma, others would not understand me. And that would be wearying and troublesome for me. Therefore, there came to me spontaneously these stanzas never heard before. Enough with teaching the Dhamma that even I found hard to reach, for it will never be perceived by those who are living in lust and hate. Those who are dyed in lust, wrapped in darkness, will never discern this deep Dharma, which goes against the worldly stream, subtle, deep, difficult to see. So he said, in some other beautiful verses, which I couldn't find in the time available, he speaks about how he just wants to go into the forest. It's better I just go into the solitude of the forest rather than teach the Dhamma. But as we know, he was approached by some of the higher beings, the sublime beings, who entreated him and said, look, there are people with less dust in their eyes who do have some wisdom, who will listen to you, who can be benefited. So, please teach the Dharma. Arise, victorious hero, caravan leader. Let the Blessed One teach the Dhamma. There will be those who will understand. And then later, then Lord Buddha himself said, I am the Arahant in the world. I am the Teacher Supreme. I alone am a perfectly enlightened one, whose fires are quenched and extinguished, the fires of attachment, anger, ignorance, so forth. Then he says these wonderful lines. I'm wondering what the original Pali or Sanskrit is. It must be very wonderful. He refers to Kashi, of course, Banaras. I go now to the city of Kashi to set in motion the wheel of Dharma. In a world that has become blind, I go to beat the drum of the deathless, Dharma. I go now to the city of Kashi to set in motion the wheel of Dharma. In a world that has become blind, I go to beat the drum of the deathless. So we are very fortunate that he did that he walked from Bodh Gaya to Banaras and then into the Deer Park, Isipatana, modern day Sarnath, and gave his first discourse. So we're very fortunate, aren't we? That not only that we're very fortunate that the higher beings, interceded on our behalf and requested the Buddha to teach. So our good karma, in that sense, the good collective karma, the beings of this eon, those of us sitting here maybe didn't have the chance to, perhaps listen much to Lord Buddha as human beings, but at least we have the benefit of his teachings now. Yeah. So then, just briefly on the parinirvana of Lord Buddha, his passing away in Kushinagar. It's said that when they reached Kushinagar and Lord Buddha told Anand, well, this is the place, where I'm going to pass away, Anand was very upset. Not just because Buddha was going to pass away, but why is Buddha choosing this tiny little village, Kushinagar wasn't a great place at the time of the Buddha. It's still a very quiet place compared to Bodh Gaya and others. But he said, why, please don't pass away in this place full of mud huts, basically, he's saying. Mud huts with straw roofs, Pass away in a big city, where there'll be many people. Someone like you should pass away in a very, much more, It's like saying to someone, don't pass away in some village, pass away in Delhi or Mumbai or somewhere, where there can be some tamasha, some big deal. So anyway, Buddha passed away in Kushinagar, and the words he spoke, it is said, the dialogue before he spoke was very marvelous. Although it said all of the beings there who were around him at that time, all of them had some realizations. All of the monks there had some realizations. At least they had entered into the stream of the Dharma. They would at least stream enter a level, which is a high level of attainment. Who knows how many bodhisattvas there were, but in the Theravada tradition they don't mention necessarily the bodhisattvas, but the monks who were there, they all quite realized. Then, Anand says this to the Buddha. First the Buddha says to Anand, it may be, Anand, that to some of you this thought may come. But here are we have the words of the teacher who is gone. Our teacher we have with us is no more. But Anand, it shouldn't be considered like this. What I have taught and laid down, Anand, as the doctrine, the Dharma, And the discipline, the Vinaya, this will be your teacher when I am gone. Yeah. Then the Buddha asks the monks that is there any doubt in your minds about anything? Do you want to know about anything before I pass away? It may be bhikkhus that there may be some doubt or perplexity in the mind of even one bhikkhu about the Buddha or the Dhamma or the Sangha or the path or the practice. Ask bhikkhus. Do not reproach yourself afterwards with the thought that our teacher was face to face with us and we couldn't ask the Blessed One when we were face to face with him. वो बोलते हैं ना कि अभी पूछो, अगर कुछ पूछना है तो अभी पूछो, बाद में मत या कहना कि बुद्ध हमारे सामने थे और हम नहीं पूछ पाए, तो फिर आपको बुरा लगेगा बाद में. तो कुछ पूछना है तो अभी पूछो. Ask now if you want to ask something. Nobody answered. Then second and third time also Lord Buddha asked, and nobody said anything. Then the Venerable Anand said to Lord Buddha, "It is wonderful, sir. It is marvelous, sir. I have this faith, sir, in the community of bhikkhus here, that not even one of them has any doubt or perplexity about the Buddha, or the Dhamma, or the Sangha, or the path, or the practice." Then Buddha says, "You speak out of faith, Anand. In this matter, Anand, the Tathagat knows, and knows for certain, that in this community of bhikkhus there is not even one bhikkhu who has any doubt or perplexity about the Buddha, or the Dhamma, or the Sangha, or the path, or the practice. Indeed, Anand, even the lowest in spiritual attainments among these 500 bhikkhus is a stream enterer, not liable to fall into lower states, is assured and is bound for enlightenment." And then the Blessed One addressed the bhikkhus saying, "Then bhikkhus, I address you now. Transient are conditioned things. Try to accomplish your aim with diligence." Very simple, but very meaningful last words, yeah? Transient are conditioned things. Everything passes away, yeah? Everything finishes. Everything's a bit like a dream experience. Those wonderful words of Shantideva, which are used to such good effect in the Kundun movie. Remember in Kundun, at one point, saying how everything just passes away. You will become nothing. Your friends, your foes will become nothing. Your enemies will become nothing. Likewise, all will become nothing. So all we are left with is our deeds. Yeah? So, transient or conditioned things, try to accomplish your aim with diligence. These were the last words of the Tathagat. So this is from the Mahaparinirvana Sutra of the Digha Nikaya, the long sutras of the Buddha. So finally, when Buddha says, carry on with diligence, follow the path with diligence, the exact words, try to accomplish your aim with diligence. Yeah. Well, some other people have translated slightly differently, be a lamp unto yourselves, work out your salvation with diligence. There are various translations of it. Who knows exactly what Lord Buddha said? But it seems like the essence is clear. It's like, I've taught you the Dhamma. Dhamma is your teacher. Work out your own salvation with diligence. Work on it diligently yourselves. Recognizing that things are passing. Everything is passing away. So, diligence, that's an interesting word. I don't want to take too long about it, but I just want to read one other thing, which some of you may not come across, because in the Mahayana tradition perhaps we don't look at some of these teachings. Sometimes we don't. And so, of course, reasoning, of course, is what you are learning at Tibet House from Geshe-la, how to look at things diligently, to work at them, not just through faith, but through analysis and reasoning. So, at one point the Buddha is speaking to the Kalamas, the Kalama people, of a place called Kesaputta, I'm not sure where that is, somewhere in modern-day Uttar Pradesh, no doubt, or Magadh. And he says, look, do not go by oral tradition, or just by lineage of the teachings, or by hearsay, or by a collection of texts, or by logic, by inferential reasoning, by reasoned cogitation, by the seeming competence of a speaker, or because you think the ascetic is our teacher. But when you know for yourselves, these things are wholesome things, these things are blameless, these things are praised by the wise, these things, if undertaken and practiced, lead to welfare and happiness, then you should engage in them. He's saying we can, from our own experience, gauge what is correct, what is not correct. We have to do that. We have to look at it from our own experience, but also by relying on the wise. So there's that sense of there has to be a balance, isn't there? I mean, of course we go by parampara in the Indian tradition, a lineage, which as Samdong Rinpoche has very beautifully expressed several times in his teachings. Lineage has to have a proper source. It has to be kind of divinely inspired, in a sense, by a realized holy being, and it has to, then carry on in an unbroken lineage. It has to be proven that it helps people to attain realized states. So in that sense, of course, the lineage is very important. You'll always hear Tibetan lamas speaking of their lineage. They will not trust people who don't have a lineage, who just pop up and say, I know this, I know that, and without revealing their own teachers or their lineage. Tibetans will not trust such a person, and there is good reason for that, obviously. But here Buddha is also saying, don't just go by the lineage, use your own intelligence, use your own part of attention, of diligence, pay attention to the teachings, your experience, and that's the way to go. And when he says that leads to welfare and to happiness, then you follow it. Then you can, do that. Yeah. Okay, so there's many other things one could say, but that's enough because we have a text, a very marvelous text we have to go through or practice. So anyway, Lord Buddha's birth, enlightenment, passing away, an inspiration for us, even today. Yeah. So now, if you'd like to turn to page 42 of your textbook, so we have the main practice of today, which is the generating a mind of consummate yoga. And yeah, does anybody know where this text comes from, the origin? Because I don't know. Has Geshe-la ever mentioned who this is from? Or did Geshe-la put it together? Do you know? Anybody? Because Geshe-la has used this before, right? Anybody know? Because there's the Tibetan there, which I don't understand, under the title in English. Does the Tibetan suggest it's from a text or from a sutra? Just the translation of that, yeah. Maybe it's something His Holiness inspired anyway. So anyway, the brief note at the end of it on page 49 is very interesting. It's advisable this particular practice is maintained as it contains the final legacy of the Buddha's appearance on this earth. Yeah. So saying it's good to do regularly, daily. It's got the kind of essence of the Buddha's teaching in this text, in this short yoga. Consummate yoga. Anybody know why it might be called a yoga? Do you know what a yoga is? Anybody? Apart from standing on your head, doing dhanurasana and shavasana. What is a yoga? What's the meaning of the word? No? Nobody? Sir? Union, exactly, it's union. So union with God, union with ultimate truth, whatever. It's got the same meaning actually as the word religion. Religare means to reconnect or to reunite. So we get the word ligament from, which keeps your bones together or something. So religare, yoga, have the same meaning, to unite, to reunite our minds with what is ultimate. So for some it is God, for others it is some other higher state, with state of emptiness, ultimate truth, and so forth. Or, the two bodhicittas, conventional and ultimate bodhicitta. So that is a yoga. So this is a consummate yoga. It's a complete yoga which helps us to unite with wisdom and compassion, I guess. Yeah. Okay. So let's practice this as best we can. We won't spend 2 hours over it, as is suggested in the brief note at the end. 2 hours or even longer, maybe not, since we are constrained by various factors. So, I don't know if anyone needs to stretch or stand briefly. I don't think Geshe-la allows you to, but maybe anyone is very uncomfortable, needs to stretch, please do that now. Then we'll just go straight through this. Okay, so again, be comfortable. Upright is good if you can manage. So if you have a guru, then visualize your guru in front of Lord Shakyamuni Buddha, smaller in size than the Buddha. Then imagine him surrounded by all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. You can also make sure His Holiness and other great beings are there. Padmasambhava, Guru Rinpoche, Jai Rinpoche, Lama Tsongkhapa, Sakya Pandita. Imagine some of the Nalanda Pandits, Shantideva, Nagarjuna, Aryade, Vasubandhu, Asanga, Buddha Palita, Bhava Vivek, so many great beings, imagine that there. These beings who transcended craving and grasping, generated not only great wisdom, but the mind cherishing others. And then also seated on each side of you, mother on your left, your father on your right side, whether living or dead, doesn't matter. Remember them. And then all the other mother sentient beings, friends, relatives, other beings you see in the street, the newspaper wala, kabadi wala, person in the shops, all these people, like us, they all want to be happy. They don't want to suffer. All of them are suffering, and they do not know how to achieve causes for lasting happiness. They just don't know. So remembering their pain, their frustration, arouse a mind moist with gentleness, compassion, thinking how wonderful it would be if all of them were had happiness and freedom from sorrow. Then we meditate first on renunciation. That all composite things are impermanent, as Buddha reminded in his last few words. All conditioned things arise, abide, and then pass away. Nothing remains the same. And within that, of course, death. Death is definite. Time of death, indefinite. Only inner work, spiritual practice, mental development helps us at the time of death. Then all contaminated things are of the nature of suffering. So these are suffering aggregates. Or as one Lama has translated it, all emotions are pain. All are sort of contaminated emotions, they are painful. Even what we perceive as pleasurable, it's also in the nature of dukkha, unsatisfactoriness, suffering. So this body and mind, these contaminated form, feelings, discriminations, compositional factors, consciousness, which are have as their root delusion and karma, they are in the nature of suffering. They are contaminated, they are suffering nature. The pleasures they bring do not last. And everything is of the nature of emptiness and selflessness. So, those of you who've received many teachings from Geshe-la, you can begin to meditate briefly on one of those reasonings which you have received and been taught. And those of you who are familiar with the meditations in this book, Staircase to Emptiness and so forth, can begin to reflect on how deceptive appearances are. The gap between appearance of things and actual reality. Is what appears to us actually the reality of it? Or is there some superimposition of a ignorant consciousness? So who are we anyway? Who are you? What are you? Are you the body? Are you the mind? Are you a collection of all the parts of the body and the mind? Are you the owner of your body and mind? What are you? Who are you? How do you exist? Where are you to be found amongst these aggregates of form, and mind, and mental factors? We're just beginning on this, since there's more meditation on emptiness later. Then the fourth seal is transcending sorrow is peace. Or nirvana is peace. Or another translation, nirvana is beyond concepts, beyond labels. And reinforce your sense of renunciation, the strong desire to renounce all suffering, particularly the self-grasping ignorance, which is the root of all miseries. It's clinging to the self, clinging to an I, me, and mind, clinging to opinions and all of that. Be wary of that. Often renunciation is spoken of a kind of weariness of samsara. Becomes thoroughly sick and tired of grasping, which only leads to more and more suffering. Then bodhicitta, again. Some of you have done retreats on bodhicitta, Kleshala, vast topic. So begin to reflect on that, how Shantideva says, we're all like guests. He invites people like guests. Imagine the person next to you is your guest. A guest is someone who comes into your life for a short while. They don't stay long. But if they're an honored guest, you take such good care of your guest. You clean up your house, you clean up your room, you provide beautiful offerings, for your guest. You take really good care of your guest. You care for your guest. You pay attention to your guest. And there's a sadness and a joy at the same time, because you're happy your guest is there, but you're sad because your guest is going to go away. But while they're with you, you take good care. You really take care of your guest. You treat them honorably and with great love and affection. So like that, Shantideva is saying, all sentient beings are like his guests. Take care of them. So remember, at this point, remember the kindness of others. That might be useful. For those who can think of all sentient beings as being like your mother, that is wonderful. If you think all sentient beings as being your mother, then it's very powerful. It could be very powerful. So, just like the kindness of a mother, unbelievable kindness, week after week, year after year, without hope of reward, just unstinting benefit. So remembering that, remembering just day-to-day kindness also of other people. You see how precious other people are. Without them, where are we? We're nowhere. So remembering the kindness of others. Great kindness, even of people who disturb our minds. From a Dharma point of view, they are almost like the best friends, the best teachers for us to develop inner strength and patience and so forth, which we cannot do with our good friends who are treating us nicely all the time. So even those who are mistreating us, they are like also very kind. Those who are misbehaving, they are very kind. They are reminding us of the samsara, reminding us of suffering, reminding us of the power of delusion and karma, helping our renunciation, helping us generate more compassion by seeing their suffering. So others are unbelievably kind. Remember what the Buddha says about sentient beings, that you can make offerings for eons, of so many wonderful objects to all of the Buddhas, all of the beings and arhats. For countless eons you can make offerings, but if just 1 second of pure love, compassion, is more than that, is greater merit, more power than making offerings for eons. So the power of love and compassion, something extraordinary. So then developing love, developing compassion, the wish for others to be free. And then, as the teaching says, it's like we are a kind mother, but who is lacking maybe an arm or a leg. And she's sitting next to a river, and in the river her only child, her precious child, is drowning. Precious child is drowning, and she can't help because she's handicapped. So imagine the state of that mother wanting to help her only child who is drowning, can't help, hasn't got the capacity. So like that, the being who is striving to attain bodhicitta feels unbearable, the suffering of others. So much suffering, and at the moment cannot help sufficiently. So much, wanting to help but cannot help. So thinking, how can I help? I can only help by being, having that ability of the awakened one, of a Buddha. Only then I can help beings properly. Right now I can't help much, even though I want to. Can't do much. So think how wonderful it would be to have that ability to help others, to have the power, the skillful means, the wisdom to know how to help, and the strong desire to help, that strong compassion. Cherishing others, seeing the shortcomings of the big troublemaker, the great troublemaker, self-cherishing attitude. That's the big troublemaker. That sense of being uptight mind, unhappy, uptight mind. Always suffering because of that, clinging to the self, clinging to my comfort, my happiness, what I want. my gain, my pleasure, my good reputation. I want praise, all of that, self-cherishing attitude, so much suffering. See the benefits of the opposite mind, cherishing others. Just cherishing one other being, one other person. It feels like some being released, freedom from the selfish mind. Think how wonderful to have a mind that genuinely cherishes others without that neurotic concern for oneself, always me and my problem, me and my agenda, what I want. How wonderful to be free of that for some time, to genuinely cherish other beings who are so kind. So focus for a little while on the kindness. Choose specific people who are being kind to you, then it becomes more real. Unbelievable kindness. Often these people don't even want thanks, they don't expect thanks. They gave to us for years, didn't expect thanks. Just like myself, all sentient beings, whoever they are, from my mother to beings in the deepest ocean, snakes, scorpions, and birds, whales, elephants, hungry ghosts, beings, the hell beings, the jealous gods and the upper, higher gods. Everybody wants deep satisfaction, lasting joy, satisfaction. But very few can find that. Think how wonderful it would be if all beings had happiness and the causes of happiness, lasting happiness. How wonderful that would be. And were free of their frustration, of their sorrow, their loneliness, their pain. How wonderful that would be. May that happen. May that happen. May it be so. May it be so. And then generating, arousing the Mahayana vast attitude. I myself will enable these beings to have happiness in its causes. I myself will enable them to be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. I will do something. If I don't, then who else will do it? I must do it. I must do something. for all these kind mother sentient beings who have cherished me life to life. I myself must do something. Of course, we need some help, so we then think, please, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Gurus, please bestow your inspiring strength. Bless me to be able to do this. So you can visualize your Guru, oneness with Lord Buddha, or His Holiness, whatever. Feel much blessing coming from them, inspiring us to be able to do this for others. And as the text says, abide in the experience, a sense of unconditional love and the commitment to become a Buddha for the benefit of all mother sentient beings. Then the section on wisdom of emptiness. So to unveil one's Buddha nature, one needs to meditate on the wisdom of emptiness, which removes the two mental obscurations of the afflictive obscurations and the even more subtle cognitive obscurations which are preventing our all-knowingness, preventing omniscience, Buddhahood. So unlike the meditation on emptiness in the section on renunciation, here it is specifically meant to cleanse the mental obscurations of self-grasping ignorance and the self-centered attitude to achieve enlightenment as a part of the practice of bodhicitta. So meditate on emptiness using any method from the ones mentioned above in the section on renunciation. So here, when we begin to analyze so-called realities, so-called appearances, what happens? In this text, the example is given of how you can create a picture, say, of a beautiful flower, using many, many dots. In fact, that is what we see on a television screen, or even the very clear, lucid sort of pictures on our smartphones or wherever. This is all comprised of many, many, many dots, certain number per square centimeter or whatever, square millimeter. So we can be enticed, we can be infatuated with a flower or some other image on a screen, even a very small screen. As we see people, we ourselves or people in the metro or wherever, entranced watching movies or other things on their screens. It's tiny, it can be a small screen, but the image is so appealing, seems so real, so real from its own side, somehow independently good or exciting or, provoking anger or lust. See the image of someone you don't like, somebody arouse anger. It's just a tiny picture on the screen, or some other image which provokes passion or lust. And you feel so excited, full of desire, just this small image on a screen, you know. So when one goes closer, what is there? We keep on going closer, closer, closer. What is there? What is there on the screen? Just a bunch of dots, tiny dots. And as the example in the book, it could even be dots which are composed in the form of a kind of a demon or something, not looking nice. It's so tiny that from a distance the object looks like a flower or something. You get closer, you see it's composed of tiny dots of demon-like nature. So the appearance is one thing, but the reality is something else. Something looking so beautiful on the surface, you get closer, begin to delve, it's something else. There's no beauty or ugliness from its own side. It's merely appearance to deluded consciousness, due to the seed of self-grasping ignorance on the mind stream since beginningless time. That gets activated. We believe in the appearance. We believe in the solidity. We believe in it. That's the problem. We believe the appearance. We believe the appearance from its own side is real. See how it's not that way. Simply an appearance to the mistaken consciousness which exaggerates. So what does it feel like when you get closer to an image and then the image kind of disappears? It's not what you thought was there is not there. It just disappears. How does that feel? Or like you think there's a person, a real person, in the middle of a mustard field, say. You go closer, then you see it's just a scarecrow. It's just made of old rags and some cloth, made to look like a human being. And you get close. So how does it feel when you see that what you really believed in is not there? It's kind of empty of that. Modern scientists make some very interesting claims. They say some very interesting things, considered in the light of Buddhist teachings. One scientist said that in a particular experiment in what's called a bubble chamber, he calculates that so-called realities, so-called atoms or real things are going in and out of existence hundreds and thousands of times a second. So that what we consider solid is like a kind of a vibration. It's a very, very subtle vibration. There's nothing solid. There's nothing there from its own side. It also depends on what experiment is done. It very much depends on the observing consciousness, on the label in consciousness. I mean, what does it feel like if you really, really dislike somebody? Say you hate somebody. You really feel they are just bad. And then somebody you know, whom you like, say, meets that person and it turns out they're their best friend, one of their good friends. So how does it feel when someone you hate is quite liked or is a friend of somebody who is another one of your friends? They see that person as good, as okay. You saw 100% bad. They see good. So what's happening? Where's the reality? Where's the goodness? Where's the badness? Seems like it's coming from the side of the object, from its own side. Where is it? As Shantideva says in his 9th chapter, O you who investigate reality, please recognize as I have done. All is just like space, like a dream. Things are like a dream. So we'd better move on because dreamlike time is moving on. In accordance with His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama's vision, a few stanzas are to be reflected upon at this stage. Bottom of page 43. Therefore, sentient beings resemble dreams. Upon analysis, they are like banana trees, whether they are released or not from sorrow. Ultimately, there is no difference. What is there to gain? What is there to lose with things that are empty of true existence in this way? Who is there to pay respect? Who is there to abuse? From what are pleasure and pain derived? What is there to be happy or unhappy about? You can join in, please. When one searches for the ultimate nature, who is there to crave? What is there to crave for? Upon analysis, this world of living beings is found to have no true existence. Therefore, who can die here? What is there to come? Or what has been? Who are friends? Who are relatives? O you who are investigating reality, please recognize, as I have done, that all is just like space. Those who wish to be happy are greatly disturbed by causes for conflict and overjoyed by the causes for pleasure. Not finding happiness, they suffer, and in order to find it, they exert themselves. They argue with others, cut and stab one another. With the many wrong deeds, they live in a state of great hardship. Even though they repeatedly come to happy existences and experience much pleasure there, upon dying they fall for a long time into the unbearable sufferings of lower realms. Within conditioned existence, the chasms of suffering are many, and the liberating comprehension of ultimate truth is absent. Furthermore, the apprehension of true existence and the understanding of emptiness mutually contradict one another. Yet, if while in conditioned existence I do not realize this ultimate truth, I shall continue to experience a limitless ocean of misery, unbearable and beyond analogy. Likewise, through not having realized emptiness, I have little strength for virtue, and my human life of leisure and endowment is indeed very short. Also, I strive hard to live long and avoid illness. I am concerned with hunger, rest, and sleep. I am injured by others and keep meaningless company with the childish. Therefore, this life swiftly passes with no meaning, and it's very hard to find the chance to investigate reality. In this state, where is there the means to reverse this beginningless habit of grasping at true existence? Furthermore, devils are exerting themselves to cast us into vast unfortunate realms. There are many mistaken paths, and it's hard to resolve doubts about the perfect way. It will be hard to find the leisure of a human life again, and extremely difficult to find the presence of the Buddhas. It is hard to forsake this flood of afflictions. Alas, sentient beings will continue to suffer. Oh, indeed, it's worth feeling sorrow for those adrift in the river of pain, who, although they experience great misery, are unaware of the sufferings they go through. For example, some ascetics wash themselves again and again, and others repeatedly enter fire. But although they thereby suffer greatly, they pretend themselves as being happy. Similarly, those who mistake their suffering for joy and live as though there were no aging or death are first of all killed by the Lord of Death, and then experience the unbearable misery of falling into lower realms. When shall I be able to extinguish the pains of those tormented by the fires of suffering with the rain of my accumulated happiness that has sprung from the clouds of my merits? And I, having in the manner of not objectifying true existence, intensely will I gather the accumulation of merit. When will I be able to reveal emptiness to those who are wretched by view of true existence? So now the actual ceremony. So reinforce the bodhicitta you've generated through the earlier meditation. Now visualize this bodhicitta transforming into a spotless, flat, white moon disk that is resting horizontally at your heart. So imagine this white, flat moon disk at your heart. Imagine that's the sense of bodhicitta, the bodhicitta attitude. Then reinforce the wisdom of emptiness that transforms into a spotless white vajra that sits vertically on top of the moon disk that you have already visualized at your heart. So then our standing white vajra, dorje, the heart. Then multiply the vajra and the moon that you've generated with your heart an infinite number of times. Imagine it's infinitely multiplied. Share them with all mother sentient beings. Visualize that all sentient beings are joining you in all the steps of this practice. So mother, father, friends, relations, kabadi wala, newspaper wala, all of them are joining you in this. They have this moon disk and vajra at their heart. This set of the two bodhicittas, the conventional, the moon, and the ultimate, the vajra, also rests in the hearts of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Then we'll make 3 prostrations to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and then kneeling on our right knee after that, with our hands folded in supplication, we will recite the following 3 verses. So those who can, you prostrate and then kneel on your right knee. Okay, so if you have space, kneel on your right knee. So then we recite the next 3 verses 3 times. I go for refuge to the triple gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all beings. I hold the precious bodhicitta in my heart. I go for refuge to the triple gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddhism in my heart. I go for refuge to the triple gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtue of all beings. I hold precious for the Lord in my heart. Gurus, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, please pay heed to me. Just as the previous Buddhas have generated the mind of Bodhicitta, just as they successfully dwelt in the Bodhisattva practices, likewise for the benefit of all sentient beings, I will generate the mind of Bodhicitta. Likewise shall I too successfully follow the Bodhisattva practices. Gurus, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, please pay heed to me. Just as the previous Buddhas have generated the mind of Bodhicitta, just as they successfully dwelt in the Bodhisattva practices, likewise for the benefit of all sentient beings, I will generate the mind of Bodhicitta. Likewise shall I too successfully follow the Bodhisattva practices. Gurus, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, please pay heed to me. Just as the previous Buddhas have generated the mind of Bodhicitta, and just as they successfully dwelt in the Bodhisattva practices, likewise for the benefit of all sentient beings, I will generate the mind of Bodhicitta, and likewise shall I too successfully follow the Bodhisattva practices. So feel that this gesture of taking the aspirational Bodhisattva vow pleases the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that you have visualized before you, thereby invoking their omniscient minds of wisdom to manifest an infinite number of replicas of the sets of the moon and Vajra at their hearts. These replicas of the moon and Vajras descend and merge with the moon and the Vajra that you have visualized at your heart and at the hearts of all sentient beings. So visualize it's coming from their hearts into your hearts. From all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Our own Gurus is oneness with the Buddhas, and His Holiness Dalai Lama. Imagine that this stabilizes, strengthens the two bodhicittas within you and within all sentient beings. Now we'll again make 3 prostrations to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas visualized before us, and then we'll take our seats. Helpless. Oh, yeah. Is that right on the left? Kindness of Mother Sentient Beings. Thank you. So now, make a commitment that you and all Mother Sentient Beings will never give up, never relinquish the 2 bodhicittas, ultimate and the conventional, throughout this lifetime and future lifetimes, by reciting the following verse. Throughout my future lifetimes, may I always be guided by the compassionate Buddha, be able to uphold the 2 precious bodhicittas, even at the cost of my life. Throughout my future lifetimes, may I always be guided by the compassionate Buddha, be able to uphold the 2 precious bodhicittas, even at the cost of my life. Throughout my future lifetimes, May I always be guided by the compassionate Buddha and be able to uphold the two precious bodhicittas even at the cost of my life. To reinforce our aspiration and commitment, and to rejoice in having generated bodhicitta, sitting on one's cushion, recite the following verses. In order to further increase it from now on, those with discernment who have lucidly seized an awakening mind in this way should highly praise it in the following manner. Today, my life has borne fruit. Having well obtained this human existence, I've been born in the family of the Buddha, and now I am one of Buddha's children. Thus, whatever actions I do from now on must be in accordance with the family. Never shall I disgrace or pollute this noble and unsullied race. Just like a blind man discovering a jewel in a heap of rubbish, likewise, by some coincidence, an awakening mind has been born within me. It is the supreme ambrosia that overcomes the sovereignty of death. It is the inexhaustible treasure that eliminates all the poverty in the world. It is the supreme medicine that quells the world's disease. It is the tree that shelters all beings wandering and tired on the path of conditioned existence. It is the universal bridge that leads to freedom from unhappy states of birth. It is the dawning moon of the mind that dispels the torment of disturbing conceptions. It is the great sun that finally removes the misty ignorance of the world. It is the quintessential butter from the churning of the milk of dharma. For all those guests traveling on the path of conditioned existence, who wish to experience the bounties of happiness, this will satisfy them with joy and actually place them in supreme bliss. Today, in the presence of all the protectors, I invite the world to be guests at a festival of temporary and ultimate delight. May gods, demigods, and all be joyful. Just reflect for a while on what we have just practiced. The commitment, the unbelievable kindness of others, and the excruciating suffering that they're going through. So many of them are in war, conflict, hunger, thirst, mental torment, emotional deprivation, loneliness, many levels of conflict, disharmonious relationships. Agony of being in the lower realms, circling in those realms for eons of time, without even hearing the word happiness or Buddha. So we're committed to helping these beings as much as we can. Not giving up on even one sentient being. We cannot give up, cannot forsake love. We cannot say, I do not love any particular being. In other words, I do not wish them to be happy. We cannot say that for even one sentient being. That would be breaking the vows. We may not like somebody, but we have to love them. We have to wish them to be happy. And then the dedication prayers. I dedicate the merit thus gathered toward the realization of the deeds and the prayers of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the three times, and to the upholding of the doctrine of scripture and insight. May I in all lives, through the force of this merit, never separate from the four wheels of my own goal. Accomplish all the stages of path, renunciation, bodhicitta, perfect view, and the two stages. From my two collections, vast as space that I've amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eyes is blinded by ignorance. So please dedicate also for the very long life and the accomplishment of all the wishes of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet. May all his holy wishes be fulfilled, for people to generate a universal responsibility, for Tibet to be a zone of peace, for interfaith understanding and harmony, and for India to reignite and to understand and practice ancient wisdom culture, and all His Holiness's efforts for secular education, for Indian schools and so forth, all these wishes to be fulfilled, especially the younger people who have the energy and time to help His Holiness fulfill these noble wishes. And for all our gurus to have long lives, long and healthy lives, and all the teachers of all the traditions teaching valid paths to lasting happiness, may they have long and healthy lives, all their holy wishes to be fulfilled. May our lives become most meaningful for others. So in the words of Shantideva, whoever who sees us, hears us, touches us, speaks well of us, speaks badly of us, helps us or hinders us, whatever the relationship with us, may it become meaningful for them, may it be beneficial for them, may it bring them the lasting happiness. So in this way, may our lives become meaningful for others. May we never give up. Live with compassion, enjoy with compassion. When problems come, may we experience them with compassion. May all His Holiness's wishes for Tibet House be fulfilled. May Geshe Dorje Damdola have long and healthy life. All his wishes be fulfilled. May the Master's Program and the Diploma Program be most successful and bring countless benefits for many young people, especially in India. In this way, may there be great benefit and more hope for the future. Rajan Chu Sen Chu Riambo Chi Ma Kya Panam Ki Kya Kya Panyam Ba Me Payam Gom Ne Gandu Balvajo Gangri Rawe Kore Jingam De Apendan De Wa Madu Jungwene Cherezi wa benzin yasoyi, yobezite badu tenguti. May all of us here have long and healthy lives. May we never be separated in any of our lives from the Holy Dharma and from those teaching valid paths. May all our Dharma wishes be fulfilled. Okay, thank you all very much. Sorry we went beyond 8, but this is a Tibet House tradition to go late. So I feel I'm only fulfilling the tradition. Thank you for your patience. Have a good evening, and thanks to Tibet House very much for everything. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Venerable Kabirji, and thank you everyone for coming. And last but not the least, before you leave, please get this share off. That's all. Thank you. So,
Before you leave, what? Song. Very important. ठीक है, हो गया.